my name is Samantha and I'm known here on YouTube as the Hygge Stitcher. Welcome to my home here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I'm so happy that you're here today, and if you're brand new, welcome. I have a really fun episode planned for you. It's been about a month since my last video and it has been an exciting month for me. I have a fully framed finish, I have a finish, and many surprises along the way. So I hope you're ready to have some fun. Get your stitching out, get your comfy spot all set up and ready to go, because I think this is going to be a bit of a long one because I have a lot to share and a lot to talk about. So I wanted to start off with what I've been working since the last time I saw you. This is Autumn is as Joyful by Leela Studio. I started this as a stitch along last year in 2024, and it is, if you want to join or see others who are stitching this, we're using the hashtag Autumn is as Joyful Sal. And over the past year, I had started this project last autumn on the first day of autumn and made quite a bit of progress. I think I worked on it for a whole week, and since then I hadn't picked it up. So I thought on September, first day of fall, I picked this up again and shared my progress on Instagram and stitched for, I think, 3 days and made some really great progress. So the last time you saw this, I was mostly just like right here and down, and now I'm trying to stretch across. And it was really fun to get that center medallion in with the squirrels and the leaves there. And this is one of the reasons why I love Leela Studio. She comes up with the most creative ways to add some fun into the medallions. So you'll see throughout the project there are these elements of nature and animals, and she incorporates fun things into the medallion. Like right in here, you'll see there's a pumpkin in those birds. That's something she has added to the medallion. It's so fun. And in the past, you have seen things like the Summer Quaker has the adorable crabs medallion, and those are really, really fun to do. And I was excited to get that into the fabric and stitched. So here it is again. I'm stitching this on a 32 count Lugana. I believe it's called Platinum. And I'm enjoying how it's stitching up. I'm using all DMC and 2/2. So 2 strands of DMC floss over 2 Lugana threads. It's coming along. As I've been stitching this, there is a little bit of backstitch just in the leaves here. And as I was finishing up, I would go and do the backstitching up at the top there as well. And then there was a little bit in here. So this medallion's completely done. There's a little, I believe this is a fox. And I think I do want to stretch across and get, so to kind of create a border by stitching across, down and under, and leave the center for last. I think that's going to be really fun to do. It's not too big, not too small, just the right amount. A lot of fun. I love those projects. I love the Quakers that Leela Studios has created, and I will continue throughout the seasons. On the first day of winter, I'm going to bring out my winter Quaker, and I've already completed the spring one, but I am hoping to have that one framed before spring or during spring next year in 2026. So I'll be excited to share that with you when the time comes. And another thing that I have been working on that I throughout the whole year of 2025, I'm going to keep it up. On the 25th of every month, I have been working on my gold collection stocking. So I did that September 25th. I brought this out and I had a great stitching day. I made a ton of progress on this, and I'm so pleased at how far I have gotten. This is the Enchanted Ornament Stocking, if I didn't say. Gold collection. Love. So here we go. Look at that. This is so awesome. So on this, this go around, I had decided I really wanted to get that shape of the next ornament in, everything that's stitched around it. I had mostly done on this side here, and I wanted to get this side in between the two ornaments done. So that was what I had done first. And then once I had started to get going on that, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go up in here and do some half stitches. And in doing so, it really, like, when you're doing these little background half stitches, as I was going through the chart, I was like, oh, I missed a stitch. You know, up through here, I found a couple of stitches that I had missed and I put them in. So now I feel confident that all the X's and half stitches have been completed. And the next time I go back to this section will be to do the back stitching, which I'm actually really excited to do that part because it's really gonna show me the depth. Like, I already see so much definition in this chart, but just you wait, right? Once you add the back stitching, it's just like, wow, look at everything pop. But it's really coming along. I have a few more stitches down in here to complete this branch. There's a few more stitching in here. And then there's, you can tell where I've missed the half stitches right through here. All through here is all half stitches, and there's a little bit more here. And then I'll be done and ready for back stitching. And when I say done, really it's just the top half of the chart. There is still a lot more to go. But I cannot believe it, just by bringing this out once a month. And you know, when it's fresh in your mind like that, you remember exactly where you left off and where you want to continue to go. The chart still feels a bit familiar, and yeah, it's easy to do, easy to pick up again and just be like, yep, right here, here we go. And I'm excited. This is one of my oldest whips. I started this, I believe, in 2022. I believe it was like January, right after Christmas, I had started this project, and it was very slow going. I started in the center and I got this first ornament done, and then I started getting into this greenery, and I found out very quickly that this is a very challenging part of the stitch, is all of the greenery in the branches and the little red berries. So I'm sort of doing the most challenging part of the stitch first. And if you notice, I've mentioned this before, but you'll notice that on the bottom of the stocking, the stitching, the ornament is bigger, the berries are bigger, the leaves are bigger, and it just gives you more opportunity to stitch one color instead of having to switch so often. So I'm looking forward to that. I guess in 2026, I'll be working more on that, but it would be wonderful to finish the top half of the chart in 2025. So it's a push. I only have, you know, I'll have October, November, and December. So 3 more big stitchy sessions on this to go. There we go. Oh, I forgot to show you my book of days. I have been working on my book of days. I stick with it all year, every year, and I'm excited to see what the 2026, because it should be coming out soon. It usually comes out in fall. What the new cover is going to look like, and I'm going to want to get my hands on one for 2026. Really exciting. But I just enjoy, like, the biggest part for me is like I have been storing. I start at the top in January, and I write every single work in progress I have, and it takes a few pages, right? It takes a few pages. I just go through it, and then as I add new projects to my list, I keep adding them. But you'll also notice I have some check marks, right? Some check marks beside projects that I have completed this year in 2025. So that's a big reason why I love this book, because I refer back to it all the time. And I have fun, you know, stickering throughout the month. And, you know, in April, I've got some beautiful flowers and fancy ladies. And for the month of October, I sort of picked some stickers that kind of reminded me a little bit of Halloween, maybe with the black or orange. I have some moths, some crows and owls and things like that. And I just write in like if I have a brand new start, I'll put like how many whips I'm currently at. I had a new start in the month of October and I'm at 42 whips. 42 works in progress. It's crazy. But I'm having a lot of fun. And yeah, I write down like when I have a guild meeting because I belong to the Winnipeg Embroidery Guild, and I write down what project I'm working on that day. And if I don't do any stitching, then that'll be a blank space, but I tend to stitch every day. And before I forget, I wanted to do the winner for the Prairie Schooler Christmas Eve from my last video. Thank you so much to everyone who entered. And I used the random YouTube comment picker to pick a winner for this. And the winner is Denise Job, 3950. If this is you, Denise, congratulations. Please send me an email at thehyggesstitcher.ca.com. It's listed below in my description. You'll find my email address there. And you can send me an email with your address and I will ship this out to you. Thank you so much for entering. Wonderful. All right. Let's get to something exciting. I have two finishes, one fully finished, framed, and one fully stitched. So I'll start off with my fully framed object. This is something that I have been dreaming about for months now. First, I should thank all that have used the Buy Me a Coffee link. I had been saving up the funds from there and I used them to frame a piece. And I was so excited to be able to get down to the framer and have a piece sitting there ready to go, and excited once I got the phone call that it was ready to be picked up. It's very, very exciting to see your finished piece. I find that when you go to the framer and you've picked out a frame, you've got it laying down on the table and the frame that you've picked out, and I usually take a picture of what I ended up, because you forget, right? Like you go home and you're like, what did it look like again? It was sort of like this. So I always take a picture, but it's hard for me to visualize what the end result is going to be. You think it's gonna look odd. And then, but actually, like when you get to the store to go pick it up, it's like, whoa, it's better than what how I remembered it was gonna, like how I imagined it was going to look. I had that experience with this piece. This is Emerald City by Owl Forest Embroidery. And I had this completed and framed at Lizzie B's, which is the local needlework shop here. Barb, the lovely owner, helped me come up with this frame option. When I had brought this into the store, I thought to myself on my drive over, I was like, I'm gonna get like emerald green, really shiny, beautiful frame, or maybe I had suggestions from viewers that were like, Samantha, maybe, you know, gold or a yellow, like for the yellow brick road from The Wizard of Oz, right? I was like, yeah, those are great suggestions. So those were the first two. I laid the fabric down on the table and Barb was like, Kate pulled out all the emerald green colors and all the shiny, shiny options. And then I was like, nothing was really hitting that spot for me where it was like immediately yes. You just know when you see it, you're like, yes, that's gonna be amazing. And then we went through all the yellows and all the golds. Something just didn't feel right about it. And I think a lot of it had to do with the green fabric. And if you know, green and purple look amazing together. And I had a thought of like, maybe purple? And Barb's like, okay. She started pulling out some of the purple frames. And then she thought, what about black? Like, we put this is a double frame. It's a purple frame and a black frame together. And when we had done that, it was like a lightning bolt immediately. Yes, that looks so amazing. The purple looks great with the green. and it doesn't clash with the Emerald City in the center, which I wanted that part to be the focal point of the design, because I've added a ton of sparkly gems and Kreinik and special treasures to make it really sparkly, and I wanted that to be the focal point. And the black really brings out sort of the witchy, you know, some of the black stitching in there. You'll notice the crow, the little dog Toto, and the witch. It really brings out those, it pops. And I love this. I love this so much. And when I think of Emerald City and I think of Wizard of Oz, it does give me Halloween memories. You know, as a young trick-or-treater back in the day, you know, you couldn't go to a party or to a dance and not see someone dressed up as Dorothy or the Tin Man or the Scarecrow, right? Like there were so many costumes, and still to this day, many people dress up in those costumes. They're a lot of fun. And so I kind of got this, you know, witchy Halloween, little bit of a vibe going on here, and I love it. What do you think? What do you think? I'm going to bring it in closer so you can see the stitching. And I also, Barb does a great job. My stitching looks incredible, stretched out, how she does her framing. She stretches them out onto the foam board, and wow, my stitching looks incredible. Amazing. You've heard me, if you are a long-time subscriber, you've heard me talk about this stitch so many times and all the little elements that I have added into this design. I have used the Owl Forest Embroidery floss, and throughout stitching this, this was the very first thing I stitched, was the house. This is page 1. And the first thing I noticed in the stitch that it didn't have ruby red slippers. So that was the very first change that I made, just by adding some DMC red ruby red slippers. And that was the first change I made. And once I had done that, I started to get creative as I went along with this stitch and added in beads. You'll see the corn have beads. The Tin Man, I used a DMC, you know, sparkly floss. And with the lion, I added whisper into his tail and mane. The poppies have beads, the mice have beads. The witch I used, you can't see it on through camera, but the witch is also sparkly. I used a DMC etoile in her dress. Emerald City, I just blinged up with anything green I could find. I added beads, I added treasures. There's Kreinik, DMC, I don't know what to call it, the DMC sparkly floss. I added beads everywhere I could. I found this gold Mill Hill treasure for the yellow bell. It just goes on and on. Everywhere I went, I added more beads. Wow, also here up at the top, I have a charm, a red heart charm that I found from Mill Hill. You'll notice I didn't put any glass on this piece. It has a lot of sparkle, a lot of bling, a lot of treasures, and I'm one of those people that like to sort of like look at it and touch them. You know, not really like play with them or anything like that, but I like to be able to be like, oh, look at the little bell, you know, that sort of thing. And I just love the way that it looks without the glass. And maybe one day if I decided I wanted to put glass on this, I could. But I'm really happy. I'm super happy with this. This was a real treat to be able to pick up. Seeing one of your pieces fully stitched, fully framed, ready to go on the shelf or on your wall. Oh, what a joy. So thank you so much to those that have used my Buy Me a Coffee throughout the years. This is a great way to support me and my channel. And I just want to thank you, because this is really a special moment for me to be able to have these to share with you in the video. It's very exciting, but also to be able to put on my wall and to enjoy every time I'm in my Stitchy space. It's so amazing. It's such a gift. So thank you. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put it away now. Next time I have a video, you'll see this. I'll have it displayed on my wall behind me. How exciting. Okay, just carefully put this down here. Oh, I love that one so much. Okay, so on to my next finish. This is another Owl Forest Embroidery. Typically what I have been doing, you know, usually each video is I like to stitch on at least one Owl Forest Embroidery per video. And just so happens that Treasure Island was up next, and it was the very last part. I have completed Treasure Island. This is amazing. And I'm already dreaming up like, ooh, what could be fun to do with this one. If you remember, is it up here? No, I don't have it up here right now. The map of Hot Crown Hollow that I did a few years ago has a really cool wooden frame that kind of reminds me of something you would see an old map in. And I had picked quite a large frame for that one, but there is another frame that is smaller, you know, like not as thick, that is the same wood style. And I have been thinking a lot about how amazing it would look for this stitch. So I've been thinking about that. Maybe in 2026, it would be fun to get this framed. I love this. I hope that Owl Forest Embroidery comes out with a new stitch along next year that is like similar to, you know, the storybook. Like I have Wizard of Oz, there's Alice in Wonderland, there's Treasure Island. I would love to see another storybook like kind of stitch along. I really hope. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to find out what they do next year, because I'm going to be joining if it's something like this. I'll bring it closer so that you can see. Again, I used the Owl Forest Embroidery floss for this stitch. And if you're a long-time viewer, you have seen this many times. I've been working on it for a couple of years now. The island in the center. I actually one day was at a thrift store and had found a Treasure Island book, like a child's storybook with lots of pictures and stuff in it. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not getting it because inside the storybook had a lot of this imagery. Like the island itself looked exactly like this, and the shape and everything. So I wondered, you know, if the designer of this chart took a lot of inspiration from the actual story books. And the last piece that I stitched was the treasure island down at the bottom. That was a lot of fun and a lot of stitching. I couldn't believe how long it actually took me to do, but it was quite dense, right? Like there was lots of stitching. You'll see that there is like a couple of urns and there's gold falling out of it. There's gold falling out of the treasure chest. And then down at the bottom, there's this sand border and this greenery, you know, the hill that it's on. But it was so fun to do. Wow. I can't believe it, I've done another one. I actually wanted to talk a couple of things about Owl Forest Embroidery floss and how I use them. But before I get to that, I wanted to show you another one of my finishes. I thought it was a great opportunity, since we're, you know, doing the frame and this fully finished. I thought it was a great opportunity to bring out my Alice in Wonderland. So I'm just going to put it on top here and talk a little bit about that one as well. I stitched these both on a vintage country mocha. This is my Alice in Wonderland. So I've fully finished 3 of them now. They've been a lot of fun. The one thing that I like to do, like when the new stitch along comes out, is I do like to get the Owl Forest Embroidery floss, but I can kit up, you know, the linen or the Lugana, whatever I want to stitch it on, you know, on fabric that I can get here in Canada, and do it that way. Because I love using the floss. It's really fun. They're so creative with their designs, and their stitch alongs are a lot of fun because the way that they break them up, I believe they come out with a release every couple of weeks, and it's like just enough that you could stitch on it for a week, and or even like if you're a fast stitcher or you have more time to stitch, you could get, you know, a part done in a day or 3 days, that sort of thing, and then, you know, put it aside, wait for the next new release to come out. So it's fun to stitch along in that order. And what I have done in the past is, while the stitch along is going, I will keep up with it for a while, get a good chunk of it done, and then I usually pause. And the way that the stitch along, you know, when you print off the sheets, it gives you a starting and a stopping point every time you pick it up, and I like that part. I just take my time with them because I love them so much. Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about the floss, because when I finished Treasure Island, I took all the pieces, all the leftover floss that I had, and I stored in one of these little like floss containers. So you can see some of the variegated flosses through there that are bobbinated. And this is interesting. I'm not sure, I think this might have been Alice in Wonderland. I had leftover like full skeins that I didn't even touch, and they're all numbered. So, you know, when a new stitch along comes out, I will look at the list to see how many flosses come with the kits, and I look through my stash of colors to see, do I actually need to purchase, you know, a whole skein, or do I have enough here? And I just get the colors that I need. And what's kind of fun, I have some of them are multiple colors of like skin tone. I don't need any more of those, but I have some greenery, some, you know, some reds and pinks and purples and things like that. And what I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I've had questions about this, is how do you stitch with variegated floss like this? And I have had, like, ever since I learned how to do the loop start, because I always stitch 2 over 2, and because that's my favorite comfort stitch, is to have two strands over 2. And so what I did is I went through, like, because some people, what they'll do is they'll cut a length of floss and they'll use the 2 strands and stitch with them without using the loop method when you start. And because I love doing the loop start so much, what I typically do is I will pull a length of floss and find where the floss colors sort of match up, and then cut the floss. And sometimes it is really long, like, you know, or sometimes it's like this one, just the right length. It doesn't seem like it's too long or too short. But yeah, that's what I'll do, is I will start wherever the floss is. So on this one, I can see the floss is started with this dark purple, and it changes to light purple. And what I'll do is I'll just unravel a whole bunch. I can see some light pink coming, and then it gets back to the dark. And I'll fold it in half and see if the colors match up. It doesn't always work out in my favor, but sometimes it does. And most of the time it does, is I'll match it up with either the darkest part or the lightest part where the loop start would go, and then stitch, you know, cut the thread where the length matches up. And that's how I do it, because I love doing the loop start. And it, like I said, it doesn't always work out in my favor. When it doesn't work out, then I'll just cut the length that the length that feels right, and stitch the 2 strands, you know, without using the loop start. But most of the time it works out. It just depends. Like, you'll have to, sometimes you might have a bit of a longer floss than you would prefer, but the colors match up. That's what I do. I do the same thing with Karen water lilies. They have some really beautiful variegation in them as well, and when that happens, I do the same thing. I try to match up the colors, you know, doing the loop start and see if I can fold it in half and kind of match up the colors. And if it works, I'm like, yes, loop start all day, all the time. So that's what I do. It was kind of fun to finish up that Treasure Island project and be able to add my colors into my case, and just wait until we, you know, come up with the new Owl Forest Embroidery stitch along, and I'm hoping it's something I'm going to want to do. If not, I do still have one more Owl Forest Embroidery to work on. That is 100 owls. So that should keep me busy for a while as well. All right, I want to share with you a find. I love to go thrifting. I love to go to thrift stores and to look for vintage cross-stitch kits. I like to go through the whole framing section to see if I can find any fully finished frames. I have a couple here on my backdrop that were finds. I have a Teresa Wensler, that is the day fairy, or day, I think she's just called Evening. She's not a fairy actually, I think it's just called Evening because there's a day and a night. And then I also have this one here, the Catching the Wind by Butternut Road. Those were two fully finished, fully framed pieces that I found at the thrift store that were like, you know, under $20 and coming home with me. I will enjoy them. Look, you know, I walk past them, I stitch here and look at them all the time. It's really wonderful. You know, as a stitcher, we can't stitch them all, right? Like there are too many beautiful charts, and when you can find something at the thrift store that that's something that you would definitely stitch, like that's coming home. I'm gonna stick that on the wall. That's amazing. So I went to the thrift store and I didn't find, you know, anything stitched, no kits, no nothing. And I went through the section of books because I like to look for, there's a couple of books that I've been looking for. And they had a small section of cross-stitch magazines. And I was like, oh, yep, that one's coming home with me. I found one. It's a cross-stitch magazine that came out in April 1998. And on the cover is a Nora Corbett design. I love this one. There was a stitch along earlier this year with this chart, and I remember thinking, oh, I wish I had that one. I would love to stitch it one day. Now I have it. What is this stitch called? Bear with me for a moment while I look in the chart, because I can't remember actually what this one's called. Oh, I love it when it has this. Inside the magazine is a whole write-up of Nora Corbett and some of her designs. That's so fun. Fun to read. There's some pictures in here too of other projects that she has designed. And then this one's called Gathering Eggs. There's a better picture of it for you to take a look at. Oh, this comes up, like I see this magazine, you know, on those Facebook Marketplace kind of posts. This magazine will come up quite often. I just haven't been lucky enough to be the first one to say, me please, you know, I want that one. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? I'm gonna have to find some fabric. That looks like a beautiful spring stitch. Gorgeous, I love it. So that was like, yes, worth the trip down to the thrift store. This was the only thing I bought. It was $1.99. I was just like, yeah, it was worth the trip coming down today to go, you know, find something by Nora Corbett. Amazing. Very, very happy. Okay, I want to show you. This was a project that in my last video, just after I had filmed, I was like, I'm dying to stitch on Shakespeare's fairies. And I did. That was so fun. This is Shakespeare's Fairies by Mirabilia, MD 103. This is one of my all-time favorite mirabilias. This was a pattern when it came out. Does it have the year on here? 2009, which makes total sense because right around that time was when I was deep dive into Nora Corbett and started stitching. And when I saw this was something I wasn't ready for yet. I had started out stitching like the little pixies from Nora Corbett, but I knew this one day I was gonna be an experienced stitcher who would be ready for a big mirabilia. Like, this is huge. This is huge. And yeah, I had purchased this chart not too many years ago, maybe like maybe 6 years ago, and maybe not even that long, and had purchased it because I just started collecting some of my all-time favorites that it's like, if this went out of print and I couldn't get my hands on it, I would be so devastated. Like, this is a must stitch for me. So I purchased the chart and I took my time finding the perfect fabric for it. And here's where I am. I have it here on my Lowry stand, kind of on display, and I actually stitched this. I don't normally stitch in such a large Q-snap, and I had wanted to give this a try. When you are sort of farther along in the project, and it's nice, like I love having a Q-snap just be like, that's the section I'm working in today, and you have lots of space to move around. And this project is starting to get quite large, and I thought I would give this a try. The only thing that I am not happy about is that I don't have a Q-snap cover big enough for this one. I have a couple of covers that I use on my 11 by 11, but I don't have one that's big enough for, what is this, a 17 by 17? And I'm gonna have to make one or purchase one or something. I just don't see them made this big very often, but I wish I had one. And another thing is it's a little, like on the stand, it works great, but if I'm just stitching in bed or on the, you know, I brought this actually to our cabin when we were on a little holiday, just like this, and it was a little awkward to stitch from holding it in your hand, that sort of thing. But I made some really great progress. I had, the last time you've seen this, majority of the first fairy completed, but there were some things that were missing. I'm still actually working on the back stitching of the wing. I put in all the elements of the wing, but I have not put in her hand, she's holding a string, and it strings to the lanterns. I haven't done that yet because I believe it might be a sparkly DMC. So I still need to do that. But I did do the outline of the wing and do those little, you know, sort of like the veins of the wing in there. So I love that. That's starting to look really good. I also backstitched her arm and her hand. And did I do a little bit? There was a tiny bit leading up through her hair, but I haven't done her face and her second arm. And in here, it looks a little confusing because there is actually, like, there's her arm and then there's also the arm of the next fairy because they're holding hands right here. So I really want to get more of the second fairy in before I do the backstitching of her other hand in. But then I did. This was a beast to do. This section between this lantern and the next fairy, there's a ton of spaces in here, and this is all due to, like, those are going to be beads. So the lantern is flowing and all the beads are following behind all the sparkle. So it was really sort of challenging to get through all the color changes and all the spaces, but I did all of that. And then I finally was like, yes, I got a chunk of like one color, probably 3 colors in there that I got to do, where you can like grab a color and work down to the bottom and move up to the top and grab another color and work down. So that was the reward, you know, to be able to do some stitching like that. Really fun. I love this piece. I'm stitching it on a 32 count. Picture this plus called Nocturne. And I get a lot of questions about this fabric because when I was looking for this, I really wanted, like, at the time, I had never used Laurel Linen by Witchelt, which I thought a lot about. I was like, I think I want to try it for this one. But I just kept thinking about those lanterns and how I kind of wanted the fabric to be a bit darker because it's nighttime, right? Like you would use your lanterns at night. And I really wanted that orange lantern to pop off the fabric. And I think this fabric does that, showcase them really well, where it's not too dark. Like if this was a darker fabric, I feel like, I don't know, I would be worried about losing the colors, the blues and that sort of things in the design. But I could be totally wrong about that. Like maybe this would be epic on like a black fabric. I don't know, but I wasn't that brave to go that dark, but I thought it was a great middle ground of like, yep, it looks like nighttime, and the lanterns really pop. And I can't wait to get more of these colors in of the middle fairy. She's got, her dress is a different, you can start to see the colors, but they're like, you know, they're more of a dark, almost gray bluey color. And then the first fairy, her colors very much match the last fairy there. And those lanterns up at the front, oh, that's gonna be so good. Oh, and you can see on the chart here, I'm missing a few things, a few more details up in here. There are like 3 moments of like white stitching with tons of beads, magic, lights, sparkle. Oh, I love this chart, it's so good. That's so good. But I would really love to get that second fairy in. I think I have done quite a bit of work now, that the next time I pick this up, I will most likely move into the top and get her hair, the wing, her skin, and the start of her dress in, so that I can do more of those flowing stitches down at the bottom. My favorite part, sort of like the block stitching. So Shakespeare's fairies. So I had thought, I hope I have this handy. Another day I had gone to the thrift store. This was just a few days ago. I was looking through the book section and came across these books that I had never heard about, never seen, but they're from the 80s. These are called the Enchanted World books. The Enchanted World Time Life books. There was a whole bunch of them on the shelf. There was like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 of them. And I wanted to bring them all home because they're amazing. This is a book on dragons, but there was others, you know, and I was like, but I'm like, where am I gonna put this? Where am I gonna put these? I kept thinking like, I don't have a shelf that I could put these on and display them, but they're very cool. In this book is all about dragons, and there's stories to go along with them, beautiful pictures. Let's see if I can just find a couple in, just to kind of give you a feel for like what's on the inside of these books. So I spent a day, when I came home, I spent the day like just going through all the pages, and there's tons in them, tons of stories, you know, stuff like this. So yeah, I bought a couple of them, my favorites. I found a dragon book and I found water spirits. So like a book about mermaids, a book about dragons. And I was like, man, I wish there was, I ended up coming home and looking, there was a book about fairies, but they didn't have that one. But oh, the illustration in these are so cool. And yeah, it was just a great find. Like, I don't know, every page has a bit of a story and what's going on and all the different water spirits. So that was cool. Like, I just love the imagery, and I'm gonna add these to my shelf. But the big score, and the reason why I'm talking about these books is because Midsummer Night Fairy is like, or sorry, not Midsummer Night Fairy. This is called Shakespeare's Fairies. Nora Corbett has a thing for Shakespeare. There are charts of hers that she has come up with that are like, one of the ones I've been thinking a lot about maybe giving is Ophelia from like Shakespeare Hamlet. That's a chart that I've been dreaming about. But these are some of the ones that I had in my collection that are Midsummer Night Fairy. I've stitched her. This is Shakespeare. Titania, Queen of the Fairies. Midsummer Night Fairy sort of like sister. And I found this book on the shelf right after those two. I was like, those are coming home for me. I was like, wish there was a fairy book. Went a couple more books down the thing and found this huge book of fairy art. And while I was going through this book, I was like, okay, that's coming home for me, coming home. And as I was looking, that there's like a whole Shakespeare section, Shakespeare's fairies. And I'm going to find it for you just so I can show you a couple of pictures because I find it fascinating. And okay, let me just find it. Shakespeare 110. So in here, it talks about Titania in here. And it also talks about Midsummer Night Fairies. So inside the book is just the same thing. It has like beautiful imagery, art, paintings, and what year they're from and that sort of thing. Where was the one I was looking for? I could spend like all day looking at these books. They're so good. There Sleeps Titania. These are so beautiful. There's one I'm looking for in here. Lots in here. This chart. Okay, this picture. When I saw it, it like jumped out at me because it reminds me of a mirabilia that's called Adia. Look at this picture. Like the way that she's holding all that garland with all those like, it's like flowers, right? And her wings and the way she looks. I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if she was like inspiration for Adia Fairy. This book is so cool. So like page after page, fairies. So fun. I have a thing for fairies. I have a thing for dragons. All things fantasy. So these are great books. This is amazing. I'm so happy to add these to my collection. And also I'm just thinking like, I think because I have stitched Midsummer Night Fairy that I need to stitch Titania, the Queen of the Fairies. What do you think? Should I kit this up for next year? I love her. She's so pretty. And I stitched Midsummer Night Fairy on like hand-dyed fabric. She looks very, you know, like she's in the night, kind of a lot. The fabric looks a lot like Nocturne actually from my Shakespeare's fairies. But I would have to find something that complements and suits this one. So maybe that's what I should do next year is search for the perfect fabric. I love taking my time finding the right fabric for these pieces. Yeah. So I wanted to share my excitement, my book finds that I actually just loved flipping through and looking at, feeling inspired, wanting to stitch on all the things. Okay. Let's get back to some stitching because I have more to show you. This is a Teresa Wentzler kit that I started this year. This is called the Enchanter. This was a kit that I had purchased off of like a Facebook marketplace kind of thing, like where stitchers can post their stitching for sale, their kits and patterns and things. And I found this. Yes, I love having a kit that I can, you know, everything's in there. I don't have to like think about what fabric to, you know, and then kit up all the floss. This is so perfect. And for Teresa Wentzler, this fabric is a 28 count even weave. I believe it is a Monaco, and it's the first time I've ever stitched on Monaco fabric before, and I absolutely love it. Like for a Teresa Wentzler, this is amazing. I'm having so much fun stitching on this project, and I got a ton done. This is my second stitchy session on this this chart. And when I have a session of like stitching, people ask me like, how long is a stitchy session? Is that just one day? Is that, you know, for me, It depends. Sometimes I'll pick up a chart and I won't be able to put it down for like a week, you know. A stitching session could last a whole week, but I brought it out, I put it on my Q-snap, and I started to stitch on it. And this one, I think I had worked on it for maybe 3 days. And so I would say in total, I maybe worked on this for a total of a week. But I made some really great progress. I'm very, very happy with it and how it's turning out, because you can start to see like, okay, that's the center of the design. You can see the belt that belongs to the enchanter, and you can see the purple cape that he's wearing. And I'm starting to work my way up because I want to get his face in. The most challenging, like when I opened up this chart, I was like, whoa, this is full coverage, Teresa Wentzler. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But once I got started, and I think I had mentioned this the last time I picked this up, that something is starting to click when it comes to Teresa Wentzler designs for me. I'm starting to get it. Like, the more time I spend with them, I'm starting to, it's like you almost need to be in Teresa Wentzler's head, you know, like where she's going, how and why, and all the things. And she's starting, like in my brain, I'm starting to understand her and how she charts and why and where I'm going and how to do it. This was just like actually not that hard. This was actually pretty easy. I'm finding this one easier to do than the very first Teresa Wentzler I ever picked up, which is Lily Maiden, which I'm halfway through, but I find her challenging. This one, I'm like, even though it's big and there's a lot to this, it's easier. And I'm loving the fabric, the Monaco. This is a dove color. It's so fun to stitch on, and I can't wait to pick this up again. Yeah, it's good. Love. So within every one of my videos, I like to have a Teresa Wentzler that I'm working on. So I don't know what I'm going to pick up next, but definitely going to pick one of them up. This is a brand new start. This is a Nora Corbett design that I've been talking about for months. I finally pulled the trigger and got a start on her. I started her on October 1st. This is Anna, and she's from the Bewitching Pixies collection. I love the red apple. I love the black kitty cat and her gorgeous colors. So I actually laid out for you, these are her colors. And I stitch all of my Bewitching Pixies on the called for fabric, which is milk chocolate 32 count Witchelt. And this is why. The colors look absolutely amazing on the chocolate fabric. I love it. Now you'll notice most of the witches, they have a lot of 310, a lot of black stitching, but you get those pops of color on the fabric. And I'm going to show you now how far I got on Anna. Let's stick this behind here. There she is. The first thing I had done is I had started right at the top of the design. And when I do that, basically what I do is I find the center of my fabric, you know, right in the middle of the center. And some people will count up, but what I tend to do is I will measure like how big the design is going to be and how much of a margin I have on the top and the bottom. And the side, I can't really control that much, so I stick to the middle. But I just measure down. Like if I've got a 4 inches on the top and 4 inches on the bottom that are extra, then I'll just move down 4 inches, find the center, and boom, there we go. And I love stitching. I don't normally do that with like a mirabilia. I tend to start in the middle. But with these ones, the way that the chart, when I opened it up and looked inside, it's like the center was, you know, right here at the top. So I just had to count like a couple stitches over and start this black. Easy peasy. If it looks challenging, then forget it. I'm going in the center, right in the middle of the design, but it worked out great. And what was really fun, I had started with her hat and I got all the coloring in her hat, and it was really fun to do because then I could see all the colors that are going to happen in the rest of her dress, because it had every single one of those green colors that you see here even, and see here, that's what her dress colors are going to look like. From the darkest green to the lightest, palest green color. That was fun. And then I stitched her skin. I stitched her hair and got that long braid in, and then I started more black stitching and got to a bit of her dress there. This was so fun, so easy. I find them very enjoyable to do. If you are ever wondering, if you've never done a mirabilia, never done a Nora Corbett, start with a Nora Corbett, because you get to have these elements of block stitching, and then you get to use all the fun things. You get to, purchase Kreinik and beads and stitch them all in, get some experience using all of those materials. And then once you've completed one of these, like, you're ready. You could do a mirabilia. You can do it. They have all the same elements, they're just bigger. But they're really enjoyable. Like, if I just stitched on this from start to finish, I'd be done in a month, maybe 2. They don't take too long. They're really fun. So that was my progress on Anna. Excited to have her as a whip. I now have 2 Bewitching Pixies on the go, and only 1 more left to do out of my collection that I've been collecting. All right, I wanted to stitch a dragon, and I brought out, this is Nora Corbett's design from her Patreon that you can, I believe it's still there. If you go to her Patreon, you can purchase this chart right from there. It's called Rogue Dragon. This was the first dragon that she released, and I have her second one as well. It was a Fire and Ice Dragon was her second one, and I hope she comes out with more. These are the first 2 that she's ever done, and I love them both. They're amazing. Now this picture, I don't know if it kind of looks like it is stitching, but it doesn't match what you're about to see color-wise that I've done. So I'm gonna grab her here. This is on my scroll frame, which I get questions about, because I talk about the scroll frame in every video, but don't say what it is. This scroll frame I actually purchased from a thrift store. It was an absolute score, and I don't know, I think it might be called an American Dream set, but I'm not positive about that. It doesn't have any markings on it, but I believe that's what it is. And it fits perfectly, like, on the couch, on my bed, and I love to stitch on it. And it this frame gives me a variety of stitching. Like, it's just a different way to stitch. I like using this. I like using a Q-snap on my Lowry stand. I like to stitch in hand. I like to stitch just the Q-snap on my lap, so it's just kind of a different experience. But this is my progress on Rogue Dragon. I did a ton of work. This was so fun. I love these colors. Like the orange in her wing, like these hot pink colors in the dragon, and then also like the deep burgundy. And then you can kind of see here, there's like this gold that is like part of the dragon, stretching into the wings. There's going to be a whole bunch more of that gold color. I'm excited to add that in, but this time around I focused in on I had some holes in the gold color, so I went and got as much as I could done in there. So it's just spaces for beads, and I did this one, and then this whole section of, I kind of calling it like the second section of her wing. Epic. Oh, that was so fun to do. And I'm stitching it on a 28 count linen. I can't remember the name of it. But it's like a pale pinky color, and I think it's perfect for this stitch. I just went off of what the picture had shown in the description of like all of the materials that you needed, and it showed it on a light pale pink fabric. So that's just what I based my decision on, and it's on a 28 count, which I normally do a 32, but I'm loving how big this dragon is turning out. I'm stitching it 2/2 with DMC, all the called for colors. I can't wait to pick this up again. But I have other dragons to do, so I'll switch out and do a different one next time. And here's something that was kind of a flop for me, not fully, but this was a chart that I recently had acquired. This is the Cricut collection number 187 called 3 Gables. I think I might have said this in my last video that I had come up with, I got this chart and I thought, oh, like I could stitch that in the month of October. How fun would it be to do sort of like a haunted house? I don't have anything like this. And it came with all the buttons, and I'm like, this is awesome. And so I went through my collection of, I don't have much, I don't have a lot of fabric options, but I did have this one piece, and it was a 28 count natural light linen. Okay, so I had this color of linen, and I went through my collection and I found like almost all the colors. I was like, well, I could get like a good chunk done with the colors that I do have. And I'll show you all the buttons. The buttons are so fun. So I thought I'm gonna start it. I had an appropriate sized piece of linen, and I started, same thing I was describing to you. I started in the center of the chart from the top, and I started with the 310 and started to stitch in part of the house. And that's as far as I got, because the more I looked at the chart and where I would want to stitch next, I needed to do either the roof of the house in this color here, or, you know, start stitching those colors. And then I looked at the colors that I needed and I didn't have them. Well, I had like the DMC alternative, and what I didn't realize is that you see this variegation, those are different, that's one color of floss and it's changing as you stitch it. When I looked at this, I thought they were like, here's a row of dark gray and then light gray and then dark gray and then and the color that I had for the DMC conversion would just give you that like solid color. And it's the same thing for the roof. Those are the two colors I didn't have that were like a variegated floss. So I had to put like a solid stop on this, because if I stitched it in the DMC, it would just, to me, it would be flat. When I look at this picture, the thing that I love about it the most is the variegation in the house and the roof. All of these other colors that I have kitted up, they're all like, you know, the chimney and, you know, some of these colors down here and some of the colors that are in the window, but not the awesome variegation in the house and the roof. So I put a hard stop on my stitching, and I'm gonna have to order the next time I place an order with a store and get those colors that I needed for the variegation, because it is awesome, and I want to get back to this, but this is gonna have to be something in 2026, you know, maybe next fall. And this is why, like, when this happened, I was like, no, this is why I take so long to kit up a project, because I want it to be perfect and then get started, right? This whole idea of like, oh, I'll just kit it up real quick and like get a start on, like, that doesn't work for me. It never does. And I thought, you know, I have all these colors. I should be able to do like a good, like get some really great progress on it before I'd have to stop, but nope. Nope. So I'm just gonna put that away for now. And I'm gonna leave the chart out so that I can go get those colors that I need for next year. I want to share with you, I've got a couple more things of stitching, and I want to share with you a couple of things that that I got from the Winnipeg Embroidery Guild. So every month we meet, and at our last meeting, they have sort of like when you walk in, you like sign in, you know, I'm here, or if you're a guest, you can put a guest list of who's here today. And at the front they have like a little section where people can, as they walk in, if they want to put something that like some stitchy supplies that they're not going to use, like sometimes you'll see Q-snaps and sometimes you'll see like a lamp or a light, or and then patterns that maybe people aren't going to use anymore, sort of like a place to put your de-stitch, like, and people can go through and see. So there, I had came early and had found a seat, and you know, was sitting down, and a new, like, someone from the who was coming to sit with us was like, Samantha, did you see that there's a mirabilia chart up at the front? I was like, no. I like jump up out of my chair like, what one, right? Like, I want to see. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Someone had placed on the freebie table Maiden of the Seasons. This is part 1. There are 2 charts. So in here it says spring and summer. And there is a fall and winter that I'm now gonna have to look for because these are gorgeous. How beautiful. I didn't even know, like, I have seen these charts before, but I didn't even know I wanted to stitch them until it came up, like, till this chart landed in my hands, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love the colors in their dresses. And when I look at those the stitches, like especially this one here, when I see groups of color like that, where this is my favorite kind of stitching, like you get a little bit of the hair, a little bit of skin, not too much. And then you get these beautiful colors in her dress that are epic to stitch. I love that. And to be able to do 2 girls in one chart, that's amazing. And then it's got a bit of a border, and you have these, like, look at these colors. This is going to be fun to stitch. I'm so excited to add this to my collection and start stitching this one. Also, I want to talk to you about how to open a mirabilia, because for the longest time, I would get a mirabilia and like go to the store, and I used to get so excited because when you're at a store and you're purchasing a mirabilia, like, you can't see what's inside, right? You can flip over the back and see the chart of like supply list that you need, but you can't see what the chart looks like. It's not like a book where you could like open it up and be like, ooh, that looks like fun to stitch. So I had a really bad habit of like buying a new mirabilia and like not even leaving the parking lot before I would rip it open. Be like, sticker, rip, you know, open it like this. And I used to always have like these tears, right? And I usually would throw out the sticker, or sometimes I would fold it over. And silly me, I didn't know, you know, that like mirabilia collectors, how they open their charts is not like that. They keep the sticker pristine and they open it from the side. So on the side of the envelope, it kind of like has this little flap that you can open. And once you open the little flap, you can pull the chart out. And there you go, right? And so and I can tell like other stitchers have figured this out. Like the person who used this, like this is a used chart, but you wouldn't know that, like, because it didn't have like the seal hasn't even been opened, you know? So as a collector, if you like to keep your mirabilia chart envelopes in nice condition, you can just slide it in back and forth through the side. I know when I first discovered that, my mouth dropped and was like, this whole time I've been ripping the sticker off. Oh. I thought I would share that with you in case you are a mirabilia stitcher, or you are one day, and you'll know. You won't be like me. Another thing that I found at the Winnipeg Embroidery Guild is they had this, they had a sale going on where sometimes they get donations from people, family members. Maybe a stitcher had passed away and they're like, what do I do with all of this, you know, stitchy supplies? And so sometimes the Winnipeg Embroidery Guild will get contacted and they'll have like a big donation come in. And they'll go through the donation. Sometimes they'll use the fabric for maybe an upcoming project and supply the fabric and the floss. So a lot of really wonderful things will happen to those pieces, like Stitchy Stash. And this once a year, not always, but they'll have like a sale and be able to put the patterns and any of the money that was earned from the sale, they'll put back into the embroidery guild, into classes, into, you know, all kinds of different things. And so they had a sale, and I was like, is there any fabric? Is there any fabric? Because I have millions, well, not millions, I have hundreds of charts with like this much fabric. The lady who was putting on the sale was like, oh, I think there might be something that you'd be interested in. So she went through her bin and pulled out this beautiful piece of fabric. It has a tag on it. It is a 28 count crystal fossil. And I believe that might be, picture this plus. It's opalescent and it's got these beautiful colors in it. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. So I purchased it, and when I came, I didn't even open it. Like, I just saw the tag. I was like, this feels like a lot of fabric. Like, I'm buying that. That's coming home with me. And when I came home, I was like a little surprised because it's one of these really long, one of these really long pieces of fabric. Like, whoa. So 28 count, opalescent, really tall. It says 17 by 56. So what am I going to use this for? I started thinking. I have a couple of ideas. So either when I stitch like a Nora Corbett, the smaller designs, I could use this, like, you know, here's one, here's another, 3. I could probably stitch 3 to 4 pixies on this or something, a Nora Corbett design. And then I thought about it. Well, the first thing that came to my mind was I have this chart. Could this work? Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow? Because this was a chart that I have mentioned before in my videos that I'm looking for a nice long piece of fabric in the right color. And if you look, this is a very creamy, you know, pale color. And this is opalescent and sort of like gingerbread, like kind of color, but it does remind me of fall. So I'm wondering if I should do the math on this to see if Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow could work on this and pull the colors to see, like, would these pumpkins look good? Would the houses look good? You know, because there's a lot of dark color in that, or would this be too dark? What do you think? I'm not quite sure. But that was where my head went to first. And then second option, if that doesn't work, then it could be like, I could use this for multiple Nora Corbett's, or who knows, like there could be other projects that could come along that, that could be perfect for this, that I could cut into. So either way, I'm ecstatic to add something, add another piece of linen to my collection. And the tag on here is, if anybody here who is from Winnipeg, or maybe used to live in Winnipeg, or maybe you visited and came to a shop here in Winnipeg, the tag on the back says Mrs. Twitchett's Eye, which is a store that it's no longer here and hasn't been for quite some time. So this is an old piece, but I just thought that kind of funny because when I moved to Winnipeg, that store had just recently closed down and another owner with another name and that sort of thing. So I never got to experience like Mrs. Twitchett's Eye, but I've heard stories. I've heard many, many stories of, you know, cross stitchers shopping at Mrs. Twitchett's Eye. So anyways, that was just really fun, and I'm excited to add that piece of fabric to my collection. And another thing, I had some Stitchy kindness. When I went to pick up my framing at Lizzie B's, a customer had, and a viewer of mine had dropped off a book for me. This one is Christmas Stocking and Cross Stitch. She had reached out to me and said, do you have this book? Would you like this book? Because she knows I've been collecting stockings and getting into them. And I'm so excited. This is one of the books that I have been looking for Like when I go thrifting, I'm in the Crossstitch craft section and I'm looking for Christmas stocking books. So how exciting is that? And I actually love the one on the cover. And I was gonna go through this actually and show you a couple of my favorites. There are some really wonderful designs in here. I actually like this one. You know how sometimes you can buy a stocking that's already made and then you just have the top to stitch? I love the cardinals. I absolutely love those. So this design is, you can stitch it on its own too, which I might do. I love that. So many, many beautiful charts. Thank you so much, Judy, for this gift. I'm gonna add it to my stocking collection. And inside, there was an envelope that had my name on it, and there was another chart in here. This is from June 1999. It's a Joan Elliott. It's Angel of Crossstitch, and this is a must stitch for me. I love it. I had no idea that this was coming along with the chart, with the book. This is so great. Look at, she's stitching. Look at all of her beautiful colors. Her basket full of stitchy supplies and all the things. This is so cool. I've never seen this design before and I absolutely love it. It's got the sampler alphabet in the background. This is beautiful, beautiful. I want to stitch it. I want to stitch it. So thank you so much, Judy. That was so nice of you. Let's go to Santa Stitch. This is a Joan Elliott. I started this one last year, I believe. It is called Santa's Gifts by Joan Elliott. And I'm stitching this one on an opalescent fabric. Is it called Crystal? Oh, I don't have the tag on it. I don't know if I'll be able to bear. Hold on. It's a 28 count Crystal Dwarf Lugana. Picture this plus. There, that wasn't so bad to find. I made some really great progress on this when I picked this up. I was really wanting to get Santa's face in. And the last time you had seen this, I had just started, like I got the red hat and a little bit of the blue and a little bit of this outline, but this time I really went in and got all the colors of his hat in. And then I stitched the top part of his face, you know, his nose and eyes and eyebrows and the pink cheek. And then I started in on that white stitching to get the beard. You can kind of see it starting to flow, the colors. There'll be more colors in between. And then it's just like this whole section right here. I think it goes from here. This is all beard. And I think what I'm gonna do is just start at the top and hit the shape in. And I might not fill this all in right away. I might just get the shape in and then get the other arm. Because once you get the beard shape in, I could get the red sleeve on the other side and then even get to the green, which I am dying to do. The green center of this, oh, that's gonna be really, really fun. But it, you know, the farther I get on the other side too, I can get the owl with the ornament and then start that red ribbon that goes all the way, like the scarf that goes all the way down to the polar bear. Like I can really get a bunch more done just by like getting that beard outline in. I could stretch out this side. Like I like how I did this. I did the outline, moved around so that when I will sort of take turns, like I'll do a little bit of the red and then do some coloring in here so that I don't leave all the white for last because there's a lot in here. I will go back and forth because look at the coat, like there's just so much. And then the animals too is all white and gray or white and blue. The sack on the back was really fun to do. And there's more that I could get going on that part too. That part's really fun. But it's coming along. You can start to see, like, this is Santa. This is actually my first, like I've done a couple. I have like Santa in a stocking. I have a couple, but this is like my first real Santa Claus that I'm working on. And you know, I think this is going to be wonderful one day to be able to display a Santa. I have a sled, I'll have some reindeer. Like, when I do a Christmas display, I want to be able to have all of those elements in. I think that would be really fun. And I'm thinking there is a Santa that I would like to start. That's a lavender and lace. I have the fabric here and the chart, but I haven't kitted up the floss yet. But I'm thinking a lot about this Santa. I love it. And this sparkly fabric. So I really do want to get a start on this in November, in December, sometime. So it's on my table. I've been thinking a lot about it, but I'm just not ready just yet. I have a couple more things to show you. These are my most recent patterns that I've been working on. This next one that I'm about to show you is probably my favorite stitch out of all of my projects right now. And this is something that I don't want to rush through because when I have a favorite stitch, I want to make sure that I have it for a long time. I want to be stitching on it for a long time, and then I want to frame it and have it on the wall for a long time. So I'm taking my time with this piece. I started it last November. This is Firefly Fairies by Lavender and Lace. And there are multiple reasons why this is a favorite stitch for me. Like, there's 3 fairies and they have wands, like check, check, check. You know, like, I love that. And I didn't even know that this was going to be a project that I would want to hunt down and to stitch one day. But I came across the pattern. I believe it might have been from the Winnipeg Embroidery Guild. I think I somehow came across as maybe as a giveaway, or somebody gave it to me, I can't remember. But I got the chart. And it was right around the time that Amy from Fiber Arts, and she had just started her new hand-dyed fabric company, Oak Crown Studios, and she came out with a fabric of the month. And it was inspired by this design. Like, she wanted to create something that she could use to stitch these on one day, and that maybe others would want to stitch on, or for other projects too. But this is the fabric is called Firefly, and by Amy. And it's amazing. Like, every time I show it, I'm like, this is the coolest thing I own. I don't have any fabric that is like this. It's so unique and different. And the way that the chart is designed, you know, on the picture here, you see like there's sort of like that starburst in the center. And when this chart had been released, it was like, bleach your fabric and get that spot on there so that you can, like, bleach your fabric. I would never be brave enough to do that. And so yeah, Amy came up with a really wonderful solution to that by using her, like, the dyeing process. And the last time I had stitched on this, I had this is my 3rd time stitching on it. The first time I stitched on it, I got the outline, a bit of the, you know, where the wand would go for the first sort of the pink and red fairy. And then the second time I picked this up, I started the blue fairy and got her wand in and stitched some of her, which I think she might be my favorite. Just the coloring on this fabric looks so awesome. And then just last week, I stitched the 3rd wand and got the arm into the green, you know, a little bit of her green hat, and then the green part of her green dress. I love it. You can really see now where the wands lie and how the colors look on the fabric. This is amazing. I'm so happy. I'm so happy of how it's turning out, and I love stitching on this fabric. It was, I believe it's a 32 count linen Firefly by Oak Crown Studio. I'll put a link below to the link to where you could find this fabric if you're interested in getting this yourself. If this is a chart that you want to stitch, this is a beautiful fabric to stitch it on. But also, if you're looking at this and you're like, you know what, I have a really great chart that would look amazing with those colors, and now you know where to get it. Firefly fairies, lavender and lace. Love, favorite project. And then after I was done with that, I have one more to show you. This is what was on my, I was just wrapping this up this morning. This is a mirabilia called Rapunzel. This is MD 145. I started this a few years ago. She was one of my all-time favorites. You know, I fell in love with her braid, and this chart is no joke. This is a big chart, and if you look on the back, this is me back in the day. Terrible. Anyways, so when I had seen this chart, I didn't really understand like the level of awesomeness this braid is. Like, I saw the braid and was like, yeah, I love that. I want to stitch that. That's awesome. But in this braid, in her hair is everything. There's bugle beads, there's krynic, there's regular Mill Hill beads, there's flower treasures, and then there's like stitched leaves, like there's these little green leaves throughout it. There is like a ribbon, like see this up here, these ribbons, they're all through. There's so much to the hair, it's incredible. It's incredible. And something that surprised me about them, like just by looking at this picture, you can't even tell, but there is a ton of, you need 2 skeins of 310 to do the hair in this. And I was looking at my supplies, I'm almost out of 310. I still have more hair to do. There might even need 3. There's so much black in it. But what you'll notice is like, because in here I've done all the stitching, so there's a ton of black, like even right here, this is all black. But it almost, like once you add the other brown colors into it, it almost like, that's not black, it's like dark brown. It's amazing how it all blends together. You look here, this is just black, right? And then in here, you can start to see I've got 1 brown color in. I don't have there's probably 3 colors of brown that are all through the braid. And it's amazing as you're going through it, like even through here, you know how when you braid your hair, the color would change, right? Like she's showing the different dimensions even through the braid. It's insane. It's so well charted and designed. So I moved my Q-snap. I was working in this section here. So I did this, a little bit of framework. I colored in all this green, and then I did all the brown colors you see in here. And then I stitched all this pink, because there's like, her braid goes like here, and then up, and then back down. It stretches down even farther here. So I wanted to get more of her dress in. Yeah, get those colors in there, and I was really focusing on that side. There's one thing that I wish I had more time to do, and I might still do this, is there's ribbons here. There's a whole bunch more on this side that I'd like to get to, just to complete that part, so that the top half of the design will all be done, except for the R for Rapunzel up at the top. That won't be done yet, but soon. Getting this part in makes me want to get that part in, and then I can go up and over. It's really beautiful. But look at, there's still I have stitched on this for years, and I still have so much more left to stitch. Like, I would say I'm like maybe 70% done, 65% done. There's still a ton left to go. But isn't she gorgeous? Ah, Rapunzel. So that's it for my stitching. The last thing that I wanted to share with you was my postcard that I received from Denise. She's so wonderful. Every month she surprises me with a new postcard. And Denise, thank you so much for taking the time to do these. This is amazing. And and for thinking of me. It's wonderful. I really appreciate it. She writes on the back, she has a little quote on here. It says, "Dear Samantha, September raindrops from my roof soon. No, September raindrops from my roof, soon icicles." This is a quote from Jack Kerouac, 1958. She says, "Wishing you a wonderful month filled with beautiful and exciting projects. Best wishes, Denise." Thank you so much, Denise. I would have to say that the month of September and October have been fun-filled and have been so many wonderful surprises throughout the month with a fully finish and, you know, another finished project and all the things in between. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you got a ton of stitching done while we were visiting today. I'll be back again soon. I'm really hoping that I could go, you know, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks in between videos. 1 month is a long time, but you know, life gets busy and I've been busy stitching too. And I just haven't had the right day to film. And today was all the stars aligned and I was like, yes, I'm gonna get to film another video and spend time with you. So I'm really happy that I'm able to get this video out to you all. And hopefully I'll be back again in 2 to 3 weeks. Let's just put it there, 2 to 3 weeks. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.